You're listening to a Day1.fm show.
I am really passionate about using technology to help improve human experience, and that might be through entertainment, as it has been in my career in creative and advertising, or in utility, as it is with Gether, to help solve mental load. I'm really passionate about helping women create both their best lives but thrive in all areas of their life with technology.
Claire Waring is a powerhouse in creative leadership with over 25 years of experience spanning Australia, Europe, and Asia. Claire's expertise lies in blending creativity with innovation. She's constantly pushing the boundaries of technology to deliver impactful and forward-thinking ideas. An award-winning leader and judge at prestigious awards like Cannes, Lions, and the Effies. She's led diverse teams across multiple locations, growing talent and fostering a culture of creativity and technology. As a speaker and an advocate for women in the workforce, she's emphasising the importance of diversity and inclusion in creative industries. And as the co-founder of Gether, Claire has leveraged her expertise to develop an AI-powered app that helps parents manage family schedules and reduce mental load. Today, we'll dive into Claire's journey and the incredible work that she's doing to push creative boundaries. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you. What an intro. Wow.
You've been busy. I really wanted to ask you first, how does your business help? Who does it help? Who are you making the most impact for right now?
So look, Gether is all about lifting family mental load for busy parents, and it's there to help all parents, but primarily it really helps women both ease and share mental load with their partners so that they can thrive in all areas of life, so that they can thrive in their career and in their family, and ultimately for us so that we both help close the gender gap, because mental load is one of the really key areas or key pieces of the puzzle in closing the gender gap, but also so that we can help women fulfill their ambitions, because many women are forced through mental load to choose between their career and their family. I know I was at times throughout my career, and the thing about that is that we now have technology and the ability to help lift and share that mental load. And so that's really what the business is all about.
Amazing, Claire. And I know that you've been involved in lots of initiatives to support women and promote that gender equality and equity. Could you share a bit more about the importance of that, particularly I think in the creative industries where I think you've first cut your teeth, right? Like that's another industry.
Yeah, it is. So my background is in design and in advertising. So I was always on the digital and innovation side of advertising, but that is an industry that is very famous or infamous for not having many women at a leadership level. And as I sort of, I guess, grew my career through that industry, what I noticed was that women really fall off a cliff in terms of senior leadership when they start to have kids. That's where, and that is not exclusive to advertising, that is across so many industries, but that's really where it happens. Women, as I said, are forced to make that choice between family and career because it just becomes too much. And in the creative industries, that is particularly true because what we do is think for a living. So if you think of something like mental load, it takes up a certain amount of headspace. And as humans, we only have so much headspace. We can only contain so much before we get to that feeling of overwhelmed, before it starts impacting on things like our headspace and our ability to operate at work. And so what I found is for people in creative industries like advertising and women in particular, that having clear headspace, being able to walk into an office and be able to sit down and really focus on and do the best work possible comes down to having a clear mind and a clear head when you do that. And so I observed that across my career. I experienced it personally, and I'm really passionate about helping women get that clear headspace so that they can thrive at work.
It does take that village to get things going. That's the mental side of things and making sure that I'm personally well to be able to do my job. But I think you've also spoken a lot about the broader economic opportunity, right? If we allow everyone to do this, if we allow women to actually participate in the workforce, what's that opportunity?
Oh, absolutely. Look, mental load isn't just about women. So there is enabling equal participation in the workforce is actually worth 12 trillion in global GDP. So it is both an economic opportunity and challenge as well as a personal one. And thank you for bringing it up, because people think of mental load as just an issue for a personal issue in the home, but actually it really impacts both at a global economic scale, but also at an Australian economic scale. So the Australian government identified that closing that gender gap when it comes to workforce participation could add 30.7 billion to the economy by 2050. It is a huge, huge amount. So this is both personal, it is personal and it is domestic, but it is also a global economic opportunity for us to dive in and help solve it.
With people like you, with the community at Mums & Co, we're absolutely here to solve it and tackle this sort of, it is an opportunity, right? If we get more people participating, more people are able to either run their own businesses, start their own, ventures, or work part-time, whatever they want to do. It's very much about, enabling them to participate.
It really is. And we have the technology available to do this now. So in years gone by, like if I think I have a 14 and a 17-year-old now, and so I've been on this mum journey for quite some time. It's frightening where that time has gone. But the changes that I've seen in technology and the ability for women to have both a career or a business and a family life has just grown, I think, exponentially, even in the amount of time that I've had children. I mean, back when I started and my oldest son was born, there was no such thing as work from home. You were either in the office or you were simply not present and not working and not being able to contribute in any way. Those flexible work arrangements and the notion that you don't have to be in your chair at a desk 24/7 in order to deliver and to thrive at work is relatively new. And I think for me, that presents a great deal of hope for us, because nobody, and this is women and men included, nobody wants to be away from their children 24/7. Most of us don't want to be with our children 24/7 either, but we don't want to be removed from them. And I think that there is this wonderful opportunity that we have, thanks to technology, for a work-life blend that means you can participate in the workforce in a manner and in a way that works for you and your family. Previously, there was really only one way, or maybe two ways that I could see. There was part-time work or there was full-time work, and the sacrifices that full-time work required for you with a family were so great that many women just stepped back for a period of time in their career, and I was certainly one of them.
That leads really nicely, I guess, to what are some of the biggest barriers facing women entrepreneurs at the moment. And if you could actually change anything about the world of small business and entrepreneurship for women, what would that be?
Look, the biggest thing is funding for women, really. That's what it comes down to, I think, being able to access funding, and whether that is at a large scale, at a VC scale, or whether it's angels or even access to loans. Women typically get, I think, it's less than 3% of funding for business in Australia. So for women entrepreneurs, and in fact, I think it's far less than 3% this year, unfortunately, that access to capital and funding so that they can grow their businesses, so that they can continue to run their businesses, is really important. That would definitely be the number one thing.
I think we met initially at Sunrise Festival, and
yes,
you were, pitching competition there. So quite active on the pitching sort of space. And we just wanted to kind of understand, how have you found that pitching experience? And, because there's been a couple of programs as well that I think you've been a part of. Please share a little bit more about that.
I come from a background in advertising and marketing. As I said, I've always been a creative director or an executive creative director, and part of that role is pitching. So when you're in creative industries, being able to sell your work into a client to make great work is really important. So when I come to, I guess, the entrepreneurial space, the startup space, that pitching is something that I have a background in. So, financial projections and other things, not so much. Definitely not my strong suit. But when it comes to pitching and selling an idea, that's something that I have been doing throughout my career, and it's something that came quite naturally. It's different in the world of business and entrepreneurship, but the fundamentals and the principles are the same of, understanding the room, being able to really clearly communicate and effectively sell in the vision that you have and the steps that you're going to take to get to that vision are a really key skill for entrepreneurs. And so for us, as we went through a couple of programs, so the first program that we were in was Blackbird Giants, which was a brilliant free program for very early stage ideas or build stage. They still run it. I would recommend that to anybody. So through Blackbird Giants, we were encouraged to create a pitch deck. So that's, sort of 10 to 12 slides that really pitch your business to investors. And we were encouraged to practice pitching that. And so that was our first step, I guess, into pitching. I then went on to pitch at Startmate nights, sort of pitch panels to practice and to get feedback from judges and win prizes along the way. And then Sunrise, which we met at last year, was another pitch competition that was running that we threw our hat in the ring. We didn't think that we were going to go very well in that. In fact, funnily enough, the night before I met you, we'd been through this mentoring. So you had to submit your pitch deck, which we got through that round. You then had to go through a round of mentoring, and they were going to announce who was going to make the pitch finals to be on stage the next day. And we went through that mentoring, and my co-founder, my sister, and I looked at each other and just went, oh, that was terrible. There is no way we're making it through. And so we went off and had a lovely evening with quite a few glasses of wine before finding out at 9 p.m. the night before that we had made it to the final and that we needed to be on stage the next day, and that we were only allowed 3 slides and no speaking notes and a very strict, I think it was 3 minutes or maybe it was 5 minutes policy for this pitch. So there was this huge scramble because we didn't have anything that was only 3 slides, and we certainly weren't prepped for the time frame that we were given. This huge scramble to get it together, but we managed to do that and got on stage the next day and won that pitch competition, which was our first funding for the business. So pitching is really valuable when it comes to getting investors, but also new clients for your business on board, and that certainly served us well from those early Sunrise days right through to going through the Techstars program, which is the most recent one that we completed, the Techstars Accelerator.
Wow. And you know what? We're very passionate about helping women articulate their pitch, right? Because you are literally pitching every single day as a micro business owner, as a sole trader, as a founder. Everyone could be a potential customer. Everyone could be a potential friend of a customer or a collaborator or a supplier or a future employee. You just are constantly pitching. So thank you for sharing with such enthusiasm that experience, because whilst you are putting yourself potentially out there, that's part of the opportunities. And you've mentioned mentoring and you've mentioned potential funding, but just visibility. Like, it does give you a stage for when you don't have a lot of marketing funds to get going.
And it leads to really great connections, right? I think that's the thing for us, being brave enough to go out there and get on stage. I can't tell you how many connections, really valuable connections I've made through that pitching process that never would have happened. So I would encourage, most people are terrified of getting on stage and pitching, and it is intimidating. I've been doing it for 20 plus years and I am still intimidated by it. I still get that moment where I stand on stage and take a deep breath and have a quiet panic before I pitch.
Care, if I can, because you care so much to make it land or make it impactful or get your message across. Yes, sorry. Yeah.
No, but it's so true. It's important, and it's important to everybody, because I think especially when you have your own business, it's such an important part of you. And usually the problem that you're solving, the people that you're helping, you feel very passionately about that. And so it becomes, I think, entwined in your identity as well, to be able to go out there and make a success of landing that message. And that takes practice. So no matter how experienced you are in pitching, that practice makes perfect is absolutely true.
All right. Now, and you also mentioned one other little piece of information, which was you co-founded Gether with a family member.
Yes. Yeah, with my sister.
Any tips in terms of how do you work together? Do you have any sort of guardrails that you set in place? How do you find working with a co-founder family member?
Yeah, look, it's tricky, but I think all co-founder relationships are tricky in some way because it's two people working really closely together. I think when you are related, you know each other on such a personal level, and you also know that that other person has your best interests at heart at the end of the day. And I think that has been a really beautiful thing. When we were going through the Techstars program, actually, one mentor said to us, being sisters might just be your superpower. And we sort of loved that because it has been to a degree, but it's not without difficulty. But I would say that difficulty faces most co-founders. And for us, I think it's aligning really early is important, and maybe something we should have done more of. I mean, it's fine, but I think getting real alignment and having conversations early on between co-founders is really important. The other thing that we did early on is we sort of set some expectations about time. So when we first started the business, Ellie's youngest son, Lucas, was not in school yet. He was in daycare a number of days a week, but she was really upfront in saying, okay, I have this many days a week to commit and to work on this because I have Lucas at home on a Monday. And I think that was a really good conversation and sort of boundary to set those expectations of how much time and bandwidth, especially for women, you have to put into a venture with someone, whether it's family or otherwise, is a really valuable conversation. I've seen many other co-founders come unstuck who aren't related at all, and those who have been related when they're not aligned early on how much they're able and willing and wanting to put into the business.
That's great context, and to have those conversations upfront and ongoing. It literally is like and I'm sorry, I'm just reflecting on my own journey, having built two startups, and I did it solo. And I think that now I would always say, really spend some time trying to find that co-founder that you can go along the journey with, because there are so many ups and downs and, all the complementary skill sets, etc. But you do need to have that sort of open lines of communication, and you are close. Like you will have this relationship no matter what happens after the business. The business will probably have its life, but you will always have your sister.
Yeah, exactly. And I think on the co-founder thing, it's interesting. There's lots of pros and cons, I think, to having co-founders or not having co-founders, being solo in your business or not. And I would say if you are solo in your business, because I've done both. So I've had a business prior together many years ago where I was completely solo. And I did find that at the time very isolating. Now, that was a long time ago, before the networks of people that are available now, like Mums & Co. and other networks that are out there. That's before they were around. But I would say if you are solo, find your network, find the people that you can surround yourself with. I have some startup besties who are solo founders that I catch up with on a really regular basis. We will have coffee every week, or I've shared co-working spaces with other solo founders. Like, find those ways that you can have people to bounce things off, because it's really valuable. Being a solo founder can feel a bit like an echo chamber, and to have those people around you, both to support, but also who have experience in that founder and entrepreneur journey, to be able to sort of pick their brains and say those things like, am I crazy, or is this, X, Y, Z? That is really valuable.
You led beautifully into my next question. As someone who has actually been through the ups and downs of starting a business, is in, probably the growth stage at the moment with Gether, which is super exciting. What's that one piece of advice that you wish you had received about prioritization or harmonizing your life and business early on?
Yeah, look, this is a piece of advice that I have already had, that I already knew, but I think that I perhaps didn't emphasize it or take it as seriously as I could, and that is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. I think that's really important when it comes to business and to building your own business, because it takes time to build your own business. And I think that there are times with Gether that we've gone really fast and we've worked really, really hard on it for the past 2 years. But it is an exhausting thing, and I think because there are no formal holidays when it comes to entrepreneurship, there's not the 4 weeks a year, and there's not those formal structures in place, it's really easy to be all about the business all the time. And if you want to stay in it, if you want to be in it for the long haul, you do have to take breaks, and you do have to pace it like a marathon, I think. And I think I have never found the perfect balance with that. In fact, that balance word is always terrible, or even the perfect blend with that. But it in my experience so far, it really is a marathon, not a sprint.
I wonder if those forced school holiday periods, you just have to align with that sometimes, right? Sometimes that is the reminder to say, okay, you need to take this time to pause and to reset and re-energize, be there for the family, because, you know, that's actually one of the, as much as you've got flexibility, you actually also need to take that flexibility, right?
Yeah, and I
um,
think kids are actually a really great way of making sure that you do take a break from the business, because you need to in
yeah.
school holidays or in certain times when you need to be with them and you need to be physically and mentally present. So I actually have lots of co-founder friends that don't have children, and I think as women, sometimes we lament the fact that we're forced to step away from things in order to balance family and work. But actually, that can be a bit of a blessing in disguise, because it means that you do step away and you do take a break and you do have something else in your world other than just your business.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to take us back together a little bit, because I want to make sure that all our amazing listeners, who many are mums or dads or working parents, to dive into what is Gether actually doing on a day-to-day basis? How does it work? How does this app work, and how's it going to? Because I've done a little quiz in terms of the mental load. I've calculated my mental load.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so Gether is an AI-enabled piece of technology. It's an AI-powered app that helps sort, auto-schedule, share, and remind families of events and tasks in order to ease mental load. So it's a little bit like having a personal assistant for everything family. Women spend between like 6 to 10 hours a week just managing family. Like, that's not even the hands-on stuff. It's just the organizing and the planning, and all of those things take time. And so Gether is really designed to take care of those things for you. So how it works is I forward like an email. Let's just say I have a party invitation for my son. I can forward the email, or I can take a photo of a crumpled up paper invitation, send it together, and it will pull out the dates. It will schedule those dates onto the calendar for you. It will schedule an RSVP reminder to RSVP to the party, and it will also schedule a birthday party present reminder, because we can't show up to a party without a present. I don't know about you, but many times I have come very close to forgetting about the present. So Gether is designed to do all of those things for you, and then also remind you of those things as they're coming up. So for us, with families, one of the most stressful moments of being a mum is when you drop the ball, and we all do it. We all inevitably forget something. You know, we forget the Easter hat parade, or we forget the library bag every Thursday. You know, there's stuff that slips through the cracks, and Gether is designed to help stop that happening by sending you a daily SMS that tells you two really simple things. One, any events that are on tomorrow, and two, any tasks that have to be completed, like a permission form or something that might be due. And that just means that by distilling all of the noise around everything you have to do into here are the only things that you need to worry about tomorrow, we take away some of the onus on parents to remember, and we also make it visible for both parents. And so one of the things with mental load and easing that mental load for women is making it visible and getting it out of their head first and making it visible to others. And so when partners are signed up together, they get the same SMS. So it's also visible to them that you need to remember the library bag tomorrow, or that you have X, Y, and Z due tomorrow. And that's the first step in really truly sharing the load.
So it's an app to help have harmonious, beautiful marriages, because you don't have to remind your partner.
Exactly.
Did you do
Exactly.
that? Did you forget that? Who's doing
Exactly.
that? What are we doing here? Yeah, no. It's
It
I can
totally is.
it literally is, you know, who wouldn't, the amount of times, and this is like on a daily basis, all the school, after school activities, like you said, the dress up days, it's wear orange day, or it's
Yes.
the book, oh my gosh, the book week outfits.
And the gold coin donation that gets everyone every time. There's
There's a
always some
lot.
little, yeah, and who has a gold coin just floating around at home these days? I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
That's amazing. And I think it would really, create a lot of avoid miscommunication and sort of those horrible moments where I remember back in kindergarten, no, it was actually preschool, and we rocked up and it was photo day, right? But we just happened to grab whatever was available that day. So it wasn't really that photo outfit that you want from your kindergarten school photos. So then it's like a trek back home and come back to, yeah, it must be a lifesaver.
Oh, look, and look, I forget things all the time too. The amount that we have to hold and remember is impossible for any one person, which is why these things slip through the cracks. I mean, I forgot about my son's high school interview. I had a big pitch on at work at the time, and it had been scheduled. It was a Zoom interview. We were living overseas at the time, and I got this phone call saying, "Mrs. Waring, are you going to join the high school interview? The principal is on the line waiting for you." And I did that thing of like, of course I am. Yes, we're just having a few technical problems, and grabbed my son and shoved him in front. He had no idea what was going on, shoved him in front of this Zoom call, and it all worked out. I mean, he's a great kid. We made it through, but it was that, that feeling in your stomach when you have forgotten something for your kids, and it sort of never leaves you. And it doesn't get easier as they get older either. That there's that moment where you just feel sick. It's really gut-wrenching when you miss something for
It
your
is.
kids.
And then that is in the moment, but it actually does, like you say, have that follow-on effect. You're trying to minimize those moments. Like, it's going to happen, but you really want to try and minimize it. Is it more important than ever to tackle this problem for carers now?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the plethora of comms that we get on a daily basis. Like, we're bombarded with messages all the time.
And the other problem is that they come from so many channels. So once upon a time, you might have gotten a lot of notes home from school, but it was all paper notes that were crumpled up in a kid's bag. It wasn't WhatsApps, emails, Facebook groups, the 3 different apps that you're required to have to log in for school. I think it is both the volume of communication, but it is also the number of different channels that mean that when we have to go back and search for something, we don't even know which channel it's in. Was that an email? Was that a WhatsApp party invitation? Was that and even the WhatsApp sports group, it's insane. And so while technology has enabled this incredible communication that we have available to us, it's also meant that we are now bombarded and overwhelmed by that communication. And so for us, using technology is the only way to help tackle some of that. So part of us pulling all of this into one central hub is that you don't have to go looking for it. And and finding it in various channels. You can pull it from any channel and have it in one central place.
So you've probably been helping a lot of people manage their home and work harmonization and their balance by offering this sort of help when they need it the most. Is there anything else in terms of your business journey that's taught you, what has the business taught you so far, or how has it actually influenced your own life?
I'm much more organized than I used to be. I don't forget nearly as many things as I used to. And look, for a long time, I thought that was just me, that I was, as all women do, I was like, oh, I'm just terrible at managing all of this. I was not the only one. And for anybody listening to this, you are not the only one who is dropping the ball. It is absolutely every single one of us. But in terms of other areas of my life that it's influenced, I think it has really helped me, I guess, reflect on my journey as a mum with both a business and a career, in the conversations that I've been lucky enough to have with other women about this. So I think that I've really I've realized how deep this problem is, and it's even deeper than I thought it was when I started out on the journey. I've realized the emotional impact that it has on women in particular, and I've also realized the emotional impact that it has on men as well, because most men genuinely want to help, and they just don't really know how, and the tools aren't out there for them to help. And so I think for me, the business has been a real eye-opener in both how deep and difficult the problem is, but then also on the flip side, how possible it is for us to start solving some of these problems with technology. And I think the reality that I came to a number of years, and Gether was really an idea that I had probably 4 or 5 years ago. So it's not a new thing, but the thing that really struck me was that there's technology to solve almost any problem that we have in society and any problem that we have as mums and women, but we have to point that technology at solving that problem. So it's all very well to design a TV that you can turn on with your voice. That's great, but that's not really helping us move on as humanity or as a society. And for me, the thing that I realized with Gether is that sometimes if you see a problem, you have to roll up your sleeves and jump in and help solve it. And that's really what the journey has been about on Gether so far.
Amazing. And we're so glad that you have done exactly that. Last question is turning to managing the needs of both the business and life at home as a mum of two. Do you have any systems or processes or hacks in place that you'd be happy to share? And I'm fairly sure you're going to mention one app, and please do.
Yeah, definitely Gether. Gether, so interesting. It has made a real difference. I not only have my partner on it so that he can see everything that's going on, but now that I've got teenagers, I also have them on it so they can see what's going on too. So I'm trying to teach them with mental load as well. The other thing that I have found, and this is something that I tell everybody, get your partner involved in whole tasks as opposed to managing it for them. So one of the things that we started doing in our household is my husband will handle whole pieces of things. So by that, I mean, he takes care of football, the entire football season, from the registration to the footy boots and the mouth guards and the uniforms and the training sessions and being in the WhatsApp group. He takes care of all of that. I go to games, but I do not organize anything that comes to football. That is his domain. There are other things. I arrange basketball, but he is in charge of football. And being able to hand over that entire piece means that is a huge part of mental load that I just don't worry about anymore. That is entirely his domain. So that is a hot tip that I would give to anyone. And we do the same in our household with some of the chores. So he takes care of all of the washing, like everything when it comes to washing. I take care of all the cooking and the meals and the food, but he takes care of all of the washing. So I don't think about that at all. So rather than give fragments of things that need to be done at home to your partner, split it up by a whole task. Eve Rodsky has a great book called Fair Play on this, where she outlines that as a technique, as divvying it up. But that has made such a difference, because I think before that, I was still managing everything. Even if my partner was executing some of that, I was still managing it. Whereas with this dividing and conquering, that is no longer the case.
That is a brilliant tip. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to implement it in our house. And I think we subconsciously have done it, because you're right. You know, my husband does all the soccer. And when you were talking, I was actually thinking of the racy model, the, responsible, accountable,
Yes,
consult and inform. And I was like, yes, make him responsible and accountable for that. And you just get consulted every now and then, or you might just get informed that there's a match on this day, etc. I love it. Love it. Great tip.
Yep. I actually spoke to another mum the other day who she is a CMO, incredible, and she runs a family whip every week. So she kind of laughed when she's like, you are not going to believe this. And she was slightly embarrassed when she was telling me, which she shouldn't be at all. But she actually has a whip sheet that they run through every week. And she said it has made such a difference, because she said, well, we're really successful, my partner and I, in our careers. And what do you do when you are running a business or when you are running a creative studio? You actually have a whip, and that's how everybody knows what's going on, and you keep up with what's happening and you catch things. And so she said every week on a Sunday we run a whip for the household. Now I have not quite gotten to that level yet, but I think that notion of treating the home like an organization is a really interesting one. And that is something that we've been very big on in Gether. We believe that the organization of a home can actually borrow from the way that we organize work in order to make sure that it functions properly. So if you think about it, a CSO has Salesforce, a CFO has SAP. We have these tools for really important people to be able to run a business effectively. So if you imagine yourself as the CEO of your home, we believe that the CEO of the home needs tools to help them with administration and organization, and that's Gether.
Makes sense to me. Claire, thank you so much for joining us today on Mumbition the Podcast.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. And look, thank you for the work that you do with Mums & Co and the Mumbition podcast every day in both inspiring and helping women, because I think women have so much to offer the world that if we can come together and help each other, if we can rise together, that is a beautiful thing. That is the way forward. So thank you, Carrie.
It's our pleasure. That's team effort and we've got lots of work to do. So glad that you're beside us on this journey.